Hi there, this is Jenny and welcome to Career Seekers. We help unemployed people get back to work. If you enjoy this video, please like and share with your friends.
Overcoming ageism in order to get hired. Now, some facts about ageism. It's illegal at any stage of employment, including hiring, promotions, raises, and layoffs. However, it is very difficult to sue an employer for ageism. The Supreme Court made the standards very difficult, so it is prevalent. There's just no denying the fact that you will run into it, especially once you're over 50. Although I've had some people report to me, even in their mid-40s, that they were encountering age discrimination. Among older workers, not getting hired is the most common type of age discrimination that they experienced. Now, I know about ageism all too well. I was in my 50s when I was laid off, and I was blindsided. I did not expect it. And what really shocked me is that these recruiters that used to bug me all the time, all of a sudden wouldn't return my call. I didn't know better. My resume had every job I ever did, so you could easily figure out how old I was. And I was getting nowhere. And then I remember seeing news articles that said, if you're over 50 and lose your job, you'll never work again. With a family to support, that was pretty scary. Now I help a lot of older workers get back into a good job with a decent salary. The first step in the process is you have to understand the job market. No matter how badly you want to do something, if there's no jobs available for that specific career, then you need to look at something else. You have to look at supply versus demand. Where are there a lot more open positions than qualified applicants? If that's the situation, then your age no longer matters. If they have a hard time filling the position and you're qualified, that changes the narrative completely. Now, you also have to determine, are you a career advancer or a career changer? Okay, are there a large number of jobs in your field? If there's not, then is there a field where your skills transfer easily so that you can switch over with no problem? If the answer is still no, then what careers are in high demand and large enough demand where you can get up to speed quickly and be marketable? So as a career advancer, you have to determine what skills do you already have for these jobs that employers are looking for. Then what skills do you need to be ahead of the competition? Maybe everybody wants a specific skill and hardly anybody has it. If you can acquire that, it's going to help you get it placed. You also want to look at what fields are ideal for mature, experienced workers or managers. A perfect example is PMP, project management professional. The thing about project managers is companies do tend to prefer a mature worker, someone who has the life experience and the maturity to handle the tasks of the jobs. Now, if you're a career changer, this is where it gets a little bit more difficult because, given a choice, most employers will prefer a younger worker to a mature worker. So it's really important you have to pick something where the demand far exceeds the supply of qualified applicants. A perfect example is cybersecurity. They estimate over 500,000 job openings in the United States, and in some markets it's just out of control. There's thousands and thousands of job openings, and the supply of people that's qualified is very small. So what that means, if you are qualified, then you're going to be marketable simply because all they care is finding qualified applicants, which they can't do. Now, one thing which is really important too, especially if you need additional skills, is to see if you qualify for a WIOA grant. If you do, that means you'll get a grant to cover whatever training you need so you can get the skills that are required to make you more marketable. Now, a couple things in your job search. Number one, you do not want to advertise the fact that you're a mature worker. So you don't want that to be the first thing that they notice. So make sure your digital brand is up to date. If you're using an email provider like AOL or Yahoo or Hotmail, please update it. That's like a signal saying I'm an older worker. Create a Gmail account, which is free. Outlook is also pretty good. That's also free. Use that for your job search. Keep your other one for your personal stuff, for communicating with friends and family. But for your job search, make sure you have one that's more up to date. Now, when you're on a phone interview or in-person interview, whatever, please don't focus on how many years of experience. Instead, focus on your expertise. So, for example, instead of saying, I'm a network administrator with 30 years experience, it's better to say, I'm an experienced network administrator with expertise in cloud technology or whatever. Emphasize your expertise, your skills. That will help you more than your years of experience. It's also very important to update your look. I've talked to clients, and the way they dress, they look like they're back in the 70s. You know, get that one friend, the one who will always tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not, and ask that person what they think. Your first impressions count. When you're in an interview, a lot of mature workers are angry. They were at a job a long time, they did a great job, and then suddenly they're blindsided and laid off. And it's easy to be negative. Don't. It's poison in an interview. Hiring managers will tell you as soon as this person starts trashing their previous employer or getting negative, it's like an automatic X, that move on to the next applicant. Also, don't reminisce. Avoid ever saying, I remember when. That type of stuff dates you. It gives the hiring manager the impression you're stuck in the past. Update your resume. Focus on jobs from the last 10 to 15 years. Again, don't just say your job duties. Emphasize your expertise, your skills in handling challenges. Now, there's a wonderful tool we'll talk about more in a little bit. It's called JobScan. Please use that, and when I explain it, you'll see why. You also need to use social media, especially LinkedIn. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't use LinkedIn. A lot of hiring managers and recruiters only use LinkedIn, and it can be one of the best ways to network, get your name out there, and get more hiring managers to see what you have to offer. Now, a lot of folks have not done an interview in a long time. You want to practice doing a mock interview if you have not done one in years. Find anyone, and someone who's not afraid to be critical. You need to know what you're doing well, what you're not doing so well. Now, during the interview, you want to bring up these 3 lines, because when you're a mature worker, a lot of hiring managers have these conceptions, these ideas that they're thinking, but they may not say it. So if they don't ask you, if they don't bring it up, you want to find an opportunity to bring it up yourself so you can address these potential objections. The first belief is that older workers have outdated skills, especially technical skills. Younger employers will likely assume that you're set in your ways and you're not committed to accepting a new challenge. So during the interview, you want to emphasize that I am committed to ongoing professional development. And if you can give examples, even better. One of my clients was told by the employer they hired him specifically because he kept himself up to date, and after he lost his job, he added some new skills so he would be even better in his field. Belief number 2, older workers may be overqualified for a position, which means they will quit as soon as something better comes along. And see, this happens. You're desperate to get a job, so you start applying for any job, things you're overqualified for just because you need an income. Well, again, the hiring manager is going to think, well, gee, as soon as someone offers them something better or more, they're gone. So during the interview, you want to mention, at this point in my career, I have realized which aspects of my work give me the greatest pleasure. Belief number 3, and this happens a lot more than people ever admit, is that sometimes the hiring manager is younger and they're afraid that you might be better than they are. So they're afraid to hire you because they think that you might take their job. So they also believe that older job applicants are resistant in taking directions from someone with few years on the job and less experience. And again, they feel threatened. So if you have this type of person in front of you, you want to emphasize, I want to make you look good. Now, I mentioned JobScan. This can be one of the best tools that you use. See, most employers now use an applicant tracking system. Essentially, this is a filter to analyze the resumes and applications and discard all the ones who are not qualified, and then rank them so a lot of hiring managers will only look at the top 10%. The problem is some of these are much better than others. There's some applicant tracking systems that they can't read graphics. If you've got graphics all over your resume, it won't even get through and no one will ever see it. The other problem is people do not emphasize, they don't tailor the resume to the job they're applying for. They don't have the right keywords. When you upload your resume into JobScan and then you upload the job description, it will then tell you what keywords you need to add to your resume to make sure it gets through the system, that doesn't get deleted, and two, that it ranks higher so it's more likely to be looked at. The other thing that's very important with applicant tracking systems, some of these older ones cannot read certain fonts like Times New Roman. So you want to use what's called a sans serif font, and look that up, use one of those, because that way you make sure the applicant filter can parse your resume correctly and you'll have a better chance of getting in front of a hiring manager. Now with JobScan, it's jobscan.co, no M, not .com, jobscan.co. When you go there, you can use it for free for the first so many jobs. I think it's 10, but for a lot of people that's going to be enough. Now, I mentioned before LinkedIn. This is going to be one of your best opportunities to network, get your name out there, get in front of hiring managers. The key that we're trying to do is to make your resume or your LinkedIn profile as relevant as possible. When a recruiter or a hiring manager does a search, the higher relevancy score that your profile has, the higher up it's going to show up on the search, and also just make sure it shows up on the search. If you do these 10 things, then LinkedIn will give you what's called an all-star profile. You might even get an all-star profile before you get to this point. However, by making sure you've got all these 10 things, you're going to score higher. You'll show up in more job searches for the employer's perspective, and you'll show up higher, which will increase your chances. So number one, make sure you have a background picture, and make sure it's something that's not intrusive, no cats, etc. Your profile picture, just a professional looking headshot with a smile, nothing goofy. Your headline, this is your elevator pitch. Explain in one sentence what you offer, what's going to make you different versus the competition. These things have to be in there, your education, industry, and personal information, including zip code. Drives me crazy. I see people, because they are willing to relocate, so they don't mention their zip code. In some cases, they're in another country. As soon as you do that, you're going to guarantee that you're not going to show up in as many searches. Employers don't like it. Put your zip code. If they're willing to hire someone to relocate, then great. They're not going to care. But put the zip code in there. Your summary section, the mistake some people make is they start talking about their hobbies, their basketball championship, or when they won the award for best chili recipe. Employers don't care about that. Remember, you want the employer or the hiring manager, recruiter, when they look at your summary section, you want to be telling them what problem you can solve. You want them looking at that and then nodding and saying, yes, I want to talk to this guy. So tell a story about your target market, their pain, and talk directly to them and how you can solve their problem. You need to have at least 2 past positions, and at least one of them needs to be a current position with a description. Now, it's perfectly okay to say you're exploring new opportunities if you're unemployed, but put something in there, don't leave it blank. Skills, minimum of 3, and don't get cute. That's a big mistake some people make, is they want to be funny and they put stuff on there that will cause them to not be looked at by an employer. You also want to get some endorsements. Now, it's not that employers pay a lot of attention to the endorsements. It's just that if you have at least 3, it will show up higher in searches. More people will see it. Once they get your profile, they probably don't care. But first of all, they got to see it. You also want to have at least 1 article Now, when you go into LinkedIn, the first thing you see is an opportunity to write an article. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but you want something that's in your field. Now, if you're just not good at writing, do what they call curating articles. Do a search on that subject and just quote other people. And I don't care if nobody reads this besides a couple of friends and family members. Just the fact that you have one on there, it means you'll show up in more searches. And you need to have at least 50 connections. If you have less than 50, connect with some friends, some coworkers, former coworkers. Make sure you at least get to 50. If you have all these, you'll have an all-star profile. More people will see you. Now, some recent changes, which makes it a little bit easier. If you're unemployed, there's what's called an open to work photo frame. It's more subtle, it sounds less desperate, and it provides consistency. If you have a really weird name, which is hard to pronounce, and you want to make it easier for them, LinkedIn now allows you to create a recording of your name and attach it to your profile. There's also a new section called Featured. This can be great for technical positions because you can put your most relevant and up-to-date images, videos, PDFs, etc. to augment and reinforce what you say about yourself. More characters. Your headline used to be just 120 characters. You can now go up to 240. The About section increased from 2,000 to 2,600. Now, don't add more words just for the sake of it, but if you need more to make your point, now you have the opportunity to do so. Now, I emphasize this all the time. LinkedIn is not Facebook. What happens is some people, they got a good job, they think everything's going great, and they decide to be funny, they want to be cute. So for skills and expertise, they put all sorts of stuff that can get you in trouble with employers. Then they lose their job and they forget all this garbage is on there. Here's some that I pulled from profiles on LinkedIn. Dangerous drugs. Okay, another one, money laundering, stalking. Another one, sex therapy, pole dancing. And if a hiring manager sees that, everything else might have been perfect, and they will now pass and get another candidate who's going to be less of a problem. Now, I mentioned before, your goal is to have an all-star profile. How do you know if you have one? Go into your dashboard, and on the top right, it'll say all-star if you have one. No one else is going to see that. No one else knows that you have it but you. But it tells you that you're on the right track. But still do those 10 points because that will increase your relevancy score. It'll also show you an article that you have. Now, again, if an all-star profile, the more relevant, it'll show up more often in searches. Make sure you get those endorsements, make sure you write an article, and make sure you get your 50 connections. Now, I mentioned before the WIOA grant. There's also what's called a National Dislocated Worker Grant in some counties, but that's really part of WIOA. If you're unemployed or underemployed, it's a great opportunity to get additional skills that you may need to either start a new career or just make yourself more marketable in your current career. For example, I get a lot of managers, they always knew they should get their PMP certification, but they've been so busy they've never had the opportunity. And now they're applying for jobs and everybody's looking for a PMP. Well, if you qualify for this grant, the grant will pay for it. And if you qualify, you don't pay a dime. Depending on the county where you live, it can pay up to $15,000 if you qualify for you to get trained and certified and then get help getting placed in your field. There is absolutely no cost to you. Even the exams are covered. Now, with us, all of our programs are short-term, which means you can finish in a few weeks. They're very intense, but the idea is as soon as you finish the training, we can go back to work that much sooner to help you get placed. We also have a test pass guarantee, and you can retake classes for free. You can use this grant for certifications like PMP, which is for project managers. That's the one that most companies look for. SHRM, that's a big one for human resources. And then for IT, cybersecurity, you've got CompTIA, Cisco, Microsoft, Scrum Master, and more. Now, what if you don't qualify for one of these grants? Well, there's a wonderful alternative to a student loan. The problem with the student loan is that you're the one who assumes all the risk. The school gets paid right away. The bank pays them. Whatever happens to you, you still have to pay this. And you hear about people who get a degree or whatever, and they still struggle to get a job, but they're still supposed to pay this back. Well, this alternative is called an income share agreement. What I love about it is that it's risk-free. It aligns the interests of the student with that of the institution. With an income share agreement, you pay nothing up front. You pay nothing while you're in school. There's no interest rate either, and interest rate does not accrue. You don't pay anything until you get placed in your career. And then you have to make at least the minimum threshold, or you still don't owe anything. You only pay when you're working. And let's say you're working for a year and then you get laid off. Well, you pay nothing until you get back to work again. Now, what you do instead is that you pay a percentage of your income. So that way, the school wants you to do as well as possible. It's in their interest to do the best job they can, because the more you make, then the better they're going to do too. I love it because it takes away all the risk. Now, we work with we're the largest independent training company that has over 300 locations in 70 countries, the world's largest Microsoft Gold Certified training partner, largest Cisco training partner, and the largest participant in the Troops to Tech program. In Central Florida alone, we work with over 3,000 employers that use us for training. The training can also be complete in as little as 2 to 3 weeks. It's free to retake a class, and again, you have a test pass guarantee. There's also a career services director. Her job is to help you with your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, and more. Most importantly, her job is to get your information in front of hiring managers. Over half the jobs she's placed people in are not even advertised. So this whole plan is what we call the Unemployed Person's Career Launcher. First, determine if you're eligible for the grant that I mentioned. Then we walk you through the application, through all the red tape, and with government agencies, there's a lot of red tape. Go to work to get you approved, then get you trained and certified, then start preparing you for interviews, getting you out on interviews, help you get the job, and then off to the races. Now, at this point, I want to thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. You can call me at 813-428-2409. Go to the website, careerseekers.net. You'll see even more information, and reach out to me. I'd love to see if we can help you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for watching our video. If you liked the video, please press like and subscribe to our channel to get more free job hunting tips to help you on your career search. Are you unemployed? If you are, you might qualify for a grant that pays for everything for you to get trained, certified, and placed in your field at no charge to you. To see if you qualify, please call 813-428-2409. If you prefer, look for the link below to schedule a time when we can call you.